Man, I'm parched. I can go for a drink. Ah, raunch. I haven't had a raunch in forever. But you know what we also haven't had in forever? Hypersonic. Wait, Garrulous?
Actually, if you're gonna talk about that, do you think maybe I could come out of the fridge and talk about it with you?
Well, I assume you could come out of the fridge to help me out this one time since, well, you haven't spoiled anything yet.
Janjo! Hey everyone, I'm Jesse from Janjo. Thanks for checking out this video. Now to the Janjo Club and everyone not subscribed yet. When we play Sonic the Hedgehog, we all want that sick supersonic transformation. Not only to Sonic 3D blast through the game, but to show off our sick gamer skills after beating those stupid half-pipe stages SEGA loves to put in all those games, except for Sonic Mania because Christian Whitehead knows better. But there has been one transformation we've only seen once, and that is Hypersonic from Sonic 3 and Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles. Why haven't we seen him come back? What would he look like nowadays? What would be the modern Hypersonic? Sonic 3 and K was my first Sonic game, and I love the obscurity and potential of one of Sonic's most powerful forms. And with me today is Garrulous64, a fellow Sonic fan who's here to help tackle this spectral enigma of hypersonic speeds. So coming up, we're going to discuss a modern hypersonic design, gameplay, and story with a side of ranch.
Spectral enigma, I like that. That's good.
I weave my words like a basket.
Wait. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, because that helps me upload more videos and know that you like content like this.
So firstly, I want to talk about the design for Hypersonic, and I'm going to go over what I feel that Hypersonic should be designed as, and then Garrulous is going to take over and talk about his points. So for my Hypersonic design, I want to reintroduce Hypersonic, not just bring him back from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but I want to keep his at least original idea in using the colors of the Chaos Emeralds, which the Super Emeralds are the same color as Chaos Emeralds, except the yellow one is orange. I don't know why that is. That's kind of weird, but whatever. Now, we can't have him strobe the rainbow like in Sonic 3 and Knuckles because that is just prime for people complaining about it and people having seizures, and that's no good. So let's change it up slightly and have the colors rise through him in a gradient. The rainbow's gradienting right through him like heat rising to the top, and have his eyes as white as light. This is also a reference to a lot of people perceiving a modern hypersonic as just a white supersonic kind of look, and I want his eyes to just glow, really kind of peer out at you. Supersonic had red eyes, but I feel like these white kind of silverish eyes also really...
like they stand out.
Yeah, they really stand out. But while Hypersonic jumps, it's not just a jump, he creates a streak, an arch like a rainbow. You're creating a path with Hypersonic because he's that bright and powerful. You're using the visuals of light, which is an emphasis I want to emphasize on Hypersonic. He's greater than Supersonic. He incites hope, beauty, and imaginable power. And that's what you really want to show when showing something that's greater than supersonic, something that people already perceive as super strong.
Yeah, he's like a Tron bike. He leaves a gigantic trail behind. So you mean like when he boosts and stuff, and when he jumps, like it leaves like a, instead of just being a quickly dispersing trail, it'd be like a more lingering thing?
Yeah, so this would be like how Hypersonic has his after image when he runs around in Sonic 3 Knuckles, but instead of that, it's a bit more of a trail kind of like how when you boost in modern Sonic games, you have that blue kind of light behind Sonic. When Hypersonic runs, I want to see a rainbow streak, something that really looks pretty to look at, because while Supersonic is really cool and awesome because it makes you think of Super Saiyan from Dragon Ball, this Hypersonic will really make you think of something just completely different.
Something awe-inspiring. Yeah, I could see that. It's cool. Speaking of Dragon Ball too, I kind of went that route when I was doing my design ideas, if it's good to move on to that.
Yeah, go on.
Basically, I keep the white body like he is known to have, but it shimmers colors a lot slower. So it's almost like you ever see like one of those cool LED lights that can like fades to another color on like a timer almost.
Oh yeah.
So something like that. But you would still notice the colors changing. Like it's not like snail pace. But the sparkles around him, like as if he was invincible, because he definitely is invincible.
Right.
And this is where the Dragon Ball stuff starts coming up. I would put like a kind of faint, like Super Saiyan-esque aura around him, except instead of it being yellow, obviously it's going to be the color that he's currently flashing. So if you're watching him in his idle animation, per se, he's going to be, like it's going to be a bluish aura, maybe a red, maybe an orange or a green, and it'll change with him. And I think it just looked neat because it's just extra little visual effects they could pile on, and who knows, they could stylize it really nice and make it look really cool. More Dragon Ball stuff, he would have more spines, but they would kind of still look like Supersonics. They'd be like arced upwards, but he would have more of them.
It'd be like a Super Saiyan 2 to Super Saiyan 1.
Yeah, exactly, because I think Super Saiyan 2 was a good amount of hair for them before they started going overboard.
Hey, I like Super Saiyan 3.
Then other than that, there's a little bit more spines on his back too, just to show that he's progressed past what a Super Saiyan can do, so to speak. And that would make his attacks, like his spin dash, a lot stronger, just his jump a lot stronger. Because, obviously more spines, the more ability he has to cut himself through things. Which I will talk about later in gameplay ideas.
Yeah, but you're mentioning gameplay, and that's another big thing about Hypersonic, because when he was in Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you could tell there was a difference between Hyper and Super. Hyper just moved crazy fast. He was absolutely insane, sometimes hard to control, could kill just about everything on screen, and it was a treat. And it's kind of funny though, because when you go back and play, I recently played through Sonic 3 and Knuckles with a mod that let you instantly turn into Hypersonic, and it was very clear that Sonic 3 was not made with Hypersonic in mind whatsoever. Stages like Marble Garden, stages like Carnival Night was a chore with Hypersonic, and that was interesting from a gameplay perspective, just to think, oh, I can't just boost through this stage. But it does make you think, at what point did SEGA envision Hypersonic as a character?
I mean, if the design of the games has anything to say about it, you can't technically get him without hacks until Mushroom Hill. Yeah, so technically, they could have thought about Hypersonic for all of the Sonic and Knuckles stages, because that's the point where you're able to actually go forward and play as him. Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like even when you have Hypersonic, the levels are still built around basic Sonic. There's not really anything too crazy that they could have included to accommodate for Hypersonic, so it's more congratulations for doing all this extra stuff. You are now God.
Yeah, you play through stages like Flying Battery, like Sandopolis, and it's way more geared towards every other character. It definitely felt like an afterthought, and that's probably why SEGA never really considered Hypersonic as part of the canon.
Yeah.
Because he was never properly introduced.
It's just a tacked on bonus, I feel like.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I enjoy it. People still talk about it. As for the gameplay, now what I would do is that I still want to have Hypersonic be like how people imagine Hypersonic. Now, Supersonic as a concept can move greater than the speed of sound. So we'll have Hypersonic move perhaps greater than the speed of light. Now, I know we don't really know how fast that is, but just as a game, let's just pretend that's what they pretended to be. Having obtained the Super Emeralds, it's expected to have Hyper be incredibly powerful, so we'd have to nerf Supersonic a little bit, maybe make him more of a gameplay mechanic, maybe incorporate him into either power-ups or stage segments or something that's a bit less as an unlockable award than Hypersonic would be. That way you kind of make Hypersonic still feel special, but not as a bonus treat. Now, Hyper still would be faster than Super, and in theory, the game would support this form. Like we mentioned, Sonic 3 and Knuckles didn't really support it that well, so this game would keep that in mind. This game would be about Hypersonic. Hypersonic would still have the signature screen wipe move where he'll visually flash the Super Emeralds around the screen. This makes it a little bit more visual, maybe not as quickly as his normal screen wipe, it's more of an attack. I still think that would be visually interesting, him incorporating the emeralds into his moveset a little bit. Instead of having a double jump or a homing attack, he will gain a new ability which I call the hyper attack. It's a work in progress. That's a homing attack that continues for like a short burst like Chaos Control. This could also use rings. This way you still have his homing attack, but it's not just faster, you're not essentially just boosting. You are still killing enemies, but you are going a bit distance further, keeping you back on track so you can still play the game without worrying about falling off a cliff or anything. Now this way we can incorporate all that Hypersonic could do, plus what Sonic learned with Chaos Energy without making him broken, because remember, Sonic in Adventure 2 did use Chaos Control. We never see that again. Let's kind of bring stuff like that back because, hey, maybe we'll get an Adventure 3 one of these days. Maybe that will see Hypersonic. I don't know. But this would be a fun endgame concept, like the adventure games, that would be usable post-game because that would be fun. You play through the game, you get to the end, you use this awesome new form, and then you can take it back and use that for other sections in the game. That'd be really great. Of course, like Super, this form would use more rings fairly quickly as a primary energy source, so it's not you use it one time and you're instantly powerful, and it's not as quick as Chaos Control. Like, it's still a balanced gameplay form like Supersonic was.
Yeah, I agree with you on all that. I think something as possibly overpowered as this definitely does work as a sort of like an end game or unlockable thing. But, you know, it doesn't mean the game has to be, like, broken wide open because you acquired it. Like, I think giving it suitable nerfs and
right,
obviously putting some thought into it would make it work really well in a modern game. So, like, I think we're on the same page with a lot of this stuff. Like, like I was thinking instead of having, like, the screen nuke thing that he usually had in the classic game, much like you did, I changed the homing attack into something that was a lot faster. It's kind of almost like he teleports between targets, almost like Shadow does in 06, I think, when he's got like the upper levels of Chaos thing. Also, you could call it instant transmission, as I was just thinking. But I'm not gonna go too much farther into that rabbit hole, because I think I've already gone far enough. But, like, you know, if it's fast enough, it would definitely feel like you're taking out enemies really, really quickly, and it wouldn't instantly wipe out an entire room or anything. And, I was thinking a screen nuke like that wouldn't really work very well in a modern Sonic game because, for one thing, it's not really about destroying enemies 90% of the time, unless it's one of the older games like Heroes or Unleashed, where you need to clear rooms, which, personally, I would never put in a game myself because I don't like things like that. So that would be one thing. It would just be like an enhancement, like a mega enhancement to Sonic's ability. Like, that's part of my whole idea for it, where, like, it would be used in levels to do new things that are optional, but it's going for 100%. You unlock concept art, music, Chow stuff, who knows. I was thinking about this thing where, you know, a lot of Sonic games have these set pieces that you run through, like, you know, City Escape has, like, the big gun truck, or Speed Highway, you run down the building, and the police cars are chasing you, and it's really neat. So I was thinking, like, what if after you unlock this hypersonic ability, like towards the end of the game or whatever, you come back and revisit old stages, each of those set pieces that you would experience as Sonic or Supersonic are different in some way. Like, Hypersonic displays some other kind of crazy power flex on them. Like, so like in a city level, for example, where Sonic might run along the glass panes of a skyscraper, Hypersonic would just not even bother, and he would just fly alongside it, and he's going so fast that you just see the window panes, like, shatter as he goes by.
Oh,
like,
that'd be cool.
You know, meanwhile, regular Sonic would run across them and maybe take a different path, and maybe that'd be a way to get to a different pathway in the level where you get those other items or new stuff that I mentioned. And I think it'd be really cool if, like, every set piece did that. I don't know, it wouldn't be realistic in a game for them to put that much time into it. Even though that's a terrible thing to say from a game design standpoint, because you would want your game to be as good as possibly it can be.
Right. I'm kind of pivoting off that. I'm imagining a game, kind of like how Mad Max Fury Road, the whole kind of plots, they went one direction and then just had to go right back. I'm picturing a game where you play through all the stages, and then you get Hypersonic, then you have to go through stages, like, in reverse in a whole, like, new way as Hypersonic.
That'd be a great way to lengthen the game, honestly.
It's like, I gotta get back there because plot. and then you just play a whole new way with just, you go from this more adventure style to just like a boost style with hypersonic.
That'd be really interesting. Honestly, I feel like that would make people mad because they'd either want to play one or the other.
Yeah.
But like, it's a fun idea. I feel like the way we've described it so far, it makes it seem more like a, hey, this is a cool extra thing you can do, but it also has some good uses.
Yeah.
And it's not an afterthought.
Yeah, like, I think the point of this is try to keep hypersonic incorporated into the game.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of game, I mean, I know one of my favorite things to do is come up with stories for hypothetical games, or just stories in general. So, you want to talk about stories that could incorporate hypersonic?
Oh, yeah. So, with the wacky world of Sonic the Hedgehog, there's a lot you can do with it. And with hypersonic, I really wanted to make the story about hypersonic, because we've seen so much about supersonic. There's been games where supersonic, well, more so the Chaos Emeralds have been part of the plot, but I really wanted to make the story about hypersonic, because I want to bring hypersonic back. I want to make the story about him to kind of show, hey, this is why we haven't seen it yet. This is just everything that you need to know about it. So, in theory, this is a Sonic game where the Chaos Emeralds are not enough. The villain, whoever they may be, could be Robotnik, could be, I don't know, a evil flamingo character. They defeat Supersonic, or they break the Chaos Emeralds, or either way. Knuckles informs Sonic about the dangerous and mysterious powers of the Super Emeralds back on Angel Island. Now, Sonic has at least passed by this in Sonic and Knuckles. Even if you say that the Super Emeralds aren't canon, clearly they're supposed to exist in the world. Now, upon finding the Hidden Palace, which means the beginning of the game would be like a Sonic 3 and Knuckles throwback. This first stage could be Angel Island, it could be Hidden Palace, but the Master Emerald is still there. But the Super Emeralds are missing. Now, they were missing if you play through the game Sonic 3 and Knuckles Vanilla. I'm pretty sure that they're not there. So we're kind of going off of that where they're just missing. Where could they gone? I don't know. But now Sonic and the gang must go search for the emeralds and defeat this new super-powered threat.
Super Flamingo.
Because, yeah, defeat Flynn the Flamingo, Scourge of Mobius. So during their adventure, Sonic learns just what the Super Emeralds are, because we know essentially what the Chaos Emeralds are. They're super-powered emeralds. And the Super Emeralds are super-powered emeralds, I suppose. But I want to make them a bit more mystique, a bit more powerful, kind of like the Master Emerald in Sonic Adventure. Be like, hey, the Chaos Emeralds, there's more to them than you know. So what is greater than chaos? Now this is the stuff I wrote really late at night when I was probably really tired. Chaos itself is order yet undeciphered. That is a quote from someone. And chaos is...
I believe you.
Chaos is the natural world. The natural world is what Sonic ultimately represents, because you can't really control what's going on. And it has a whole theme of nature versus machines and all that fun jazz. So thus, beyond light and beyond human understanding is the order of natural chaos. It's the step beyond, the thing that can order the space and time, basically, the control of all things, and the meaning behind the rainbow glow of Hypersonic and his power. This is the light, the birth of the universe as we know it. And this is under Sonic's control. This is condensed down into just that rainbow energy rising through him like heat. Sonic, when he learns about this, understandably, he questions, does he continue his quest knowing what cosmic powers Super Emeralds hold? Because, yeah, these things could be really dangerous even for Sonic, and this is a very important thing to not mess up. Sure, he could master the planet's own energy with the Chaos Emeralds, but this was a much bigger thing than anything he's dealt with yet. And as Sonic Forces was about the villain controlling a wild power in the Phantom Ruby, which I wish we kind of got more of that, but I digress. This time it was Sonic's turn to tame a super-powered beast. And he must do this in order to save the world, this thing he has to do. So when Sonic obtains the Hyper Form, he defeats the bad guy, the evil flamingo, whoever, and now he can't contain this alarming power due to the Master Emerald not being there. It's a piece to the puzzle. a key to consolidating the Super Emerald's might, because, of course, you need chaos to match order. Without that, Sonic may destroy the world himself. It's the whole concept of yin and yang. It's the whole... it's almost a reference to the Archie comics when you had Super Sonic be this crazy, kind of evil form. So I'm kind of adding a bit of spice from that to kind of show, hey, he has his power, but this may turn him evil, it may blow up the planet, you don't know what's going on, but he knows it's something he can't fully control like he could with Super Sonic. And thus, the remaining heroes must retrieve the Master Emerald, going back to where they were initially, so they could seal away this hyper power for hopefully forever. I don't know, we'll find out. Now this plot keeps Hypersonic's legendary status in a single story that explains why the power is really almost never seen, in a way making it truly greater than the Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah, no, I can definitely vibe with that. And it's funny because we didn't write our two blurbs for this thing together, but there are a lot of things in both of these that just are similar just by coincidence. I mean, there are some things I think would be more obvious. Like, I mean, I didn't write about any flamingos or anything. In my hypothetical story, I took a little bit more influence from, like, the fact that the Super Emeralds were actually retconned. So, like, they don't technically exist according to SEGA. I don't know really how that works in terms of lore, but I'm assuming it means they just did not have them by the end of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and it was just the Chaos Emeralds. But basically, in this story, it's sort of similar to what Jesse was saying. There is a villain, or I just had it be Eggman. He built some machine that just took a lot of data from fights over the years, and Super Sonic can't even touch this thing. Like, in the intro, there is a Super Sonic fight, like, Unleashed, and it looks like he's getting the upper hand, but then Eggman's like, nah, I'm just kidding, dude. And he just can't beat him. So at this point, Sonic's like, uh-oh. Like, he can do whatever he wants now. We can't do anything about it. So he needs to go talk to his friends, and then Tails or something will be like, hey, we're going to go talk to Knuckles, because this is kind of his whole thing. So they go to Angel Island, where Knuckles would be guarding the Master Emerald, like he should be, and they tell him about what happened, and Knuckles is like, okay, I'm gonna try to, like, figure this out for a sec. He's gonna kind of, like, commune with the Master Emerald, almost like a druid or something, communicating with stones. In this moment, he's gonna find out that, so there was something greater than the Chaos Emeralds that they had used in the past, but none of them remember it, and they don't know why. And they find out that the Master Emerald, being more of like a consciousness at this point, I don't know, I just like the idea that it's kind of a little bit more conscious than we know. It feeling that the Super Emeralds were created after, like, during Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and they were used, and feeling how powerful they were, the Master Emerald was like, okay, we don't want Eggman to have the Chaos Emeralds. We really don't want Eggman to have the Super Emeralds. And anyone, really. So, like, the Master Emerald would then exercise its power, because we know it has, like, unlimited, crazy, chaotic power, to wipe the memories of this power from everybody's minds, including Sonic and everybody, because it's like an all-or-nothing kind of thing. So after that, it locks away that specific power in specific places around the world. And again, this is a little bit almost more like Unleashed, because at this point, the Master Emerald knows that, like, if they don't know this and there's no way for them to win, then they just lose. So it's like, okay, well, you're gonna need to restore the Super Emeralds by taking the Chaos Emeralds to these special places. I just call them, like, Chaos Vents, because they, like, I don't know, they're just giant caches of energy, and that would restore the Super Emeralds to what they used to be. This also means that throughout the story that the Chaos Emeralds function, so Super Sonic would technically be, like, a part of the story. It'd be something you could use for, like, quick things in gameplay as well. Like, I know this dips into the gameplay section a little bit as well. So, like, for instance, in regular gameplay, like, you'd be able to activate Super Sonic for short bursts. It wouldn't be like the usual thing it would be, but it's almost like a buff.
Right.
So, like, I was thinking, like, oh, there are certain shortcuts that can't be broken open by regular Sonic, so, like, you would need to know when to use that extra power before you can't use it anymore. You need to collect a certain amount of rings to use it again for a couple seconds or something. And then that ties into the whole, like, okay, so you're using Super Sonic the whole time, and then you finally get Hypersonic, and that's, like, the big thing. You know, we come back to all the levels, and you can be, like, God Mode Sonic in a lot of things, and find new things, new shortcuts, and all that.
Yeah, I can kind of see it almost like how Mega Man can have different powers. They have a limited supply
like
of.
the Rush Adapter.
Yeah.
you know how he does like the Rush Super Adapter or whatever, and he can use them to like fly around and stuff. It'd almost be like that, like a temporary power up that's like very time restricted. Oh, I think I had some other stuff like Supersonic would actually have some unique levels to himself as well. Like they could throw in the Mach speed sections from 06, except they're not terrible. So like could do something like that, and it could also just, I mean, like I said, it could help with extra shortcuts and just make you a little bit more powerful for short bursts and levels before reverting. And then of course Hypersonic is like the next step, and it's like a lot more of a constant upgrade as opposed to like this happens for a couple seconds here and there. So yeah, I think it could be fun.
Yeah, I don't know why they're so openly against it when they could have plenty of workarounds. Maybe they don't want to work around it. Maybe they want to keep their concept, but it's not like they haven't changed characters before. I mean, look at Amy Rose, her designs so different from Sonic C to Adventure 1. Like, hell, they gave Knuckles giant muscles in Sonic Boom. So it's not like they're against having redesigns or new forms or that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think the old, like, thing was like that they were worried about continuing like the greater and greater forms of classic Sonic because it was like a Dragon Ball parallel, but I feel like that's just something that people would say, and I don't know if Sega themselves ever said that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe they just wanted to restart Sonic when they went to the modern era, and they just kind of deemed as the Hypersonic being that one and done kind of thing, like how...
Yeah, and it's kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, like you have more one-and-done ideas like Darkspine Sonic, like the Werehog.
Yeah, two amazing forms.
Maybe we can talk about that some other day.
I would love to talk about the Werehog. I have endless amount of time to talk about that.
I have a soft spot for the Werehog, I'll just say that much. Yeah. Not gameplay-wise, but everything else. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that a modern Sonic is... something that could happen. This is like we gave with our design, gameplay, and story perspectives, different ways that a modern Sonic could actually work with different ways you could do it, even ways that, you know, even with our plan A, plan B, plan C's, there's so many things Sega could do about this, and I'm interested if we actually will see Hypersonic come back one of these days, especially given the whole nostalgia wave with Sonic, with games like Mania, with games like Generations and Forces. With this whole nostalgia wave of Sonic, I really do believe it's only a matter of time before we see Hypersonic come back to some capacity, even if it is something smaller than we would like to see.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what they do. I'm always intrigued to see what they come up with next. And I just hope it's good.
But yeah, you have any anything you want to plug in or anything?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me at youtube.com/Garrulous64. You can also find me on Twitter at twitter.com/Garrulous64YT, and I also stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/Garrulous64. I do a lot of Sonic stuff on the YouTube channel. Twitter, I post some dumb things and laugh, and Twitch, actually stream a lot of Mario, if you're into that, so... But yeah, and thanks for having me, as well.
Oh yeah, no, thanks for joining. I'm always down for these cool collabs and wacky Sonic what-ifs.
Yeah, I'll get back in the fridge now.
Oh yeah, get back in the fridge. For everyone watching this, let me know what you think about this. What would you have for your modern Hypersonic? Would you even bring Hypersonic back? What would you rather see? What would you like that we have suggested? Let us know in the... Shut up, damn it! Let us know in the comments or on Twitter at Janjo Brand. And feel free to subscribe, ring-a-ding that bell, and all those other things that I am not paid to say. And I might have a poll up top too. I don't know. We'll see. Let's find out together. And of course, until then, have a nice day.